beyond the stars. In this video, we are going to talk about the end of the era, the repetition. The celestial war of the fellow angels are creating time with the cube. When the Creator assembled the third earth, he created a time that is from Genesis to Apocalypse. What does this mean for the fellow angels? When the angels realized that the Creator created the third earth, 3 clocks from the Genesis to Apocalypse, like there is beginning and end. Imagine it's a stretch rope and here is a chronos time. When you accelerate it, the time stops. And you go to Dion and you face to face with the Creator. That's why the Creator accelerated the Schumann frequency today, because he will stop time, and whoever is feeling it today is your pineal gland, and that's why many people today have ringing in their ears. So much so that in the cinema he wants to make an image and it is in slow motion. You speed up the image and the film gets slower. And when you slow down time, the image gets faster. So when you take the film by Charles Chaplin, you have 15 images per second on the film roll. I slow down the images per second, and I have the fast effect on the film. That's why the film by Charles Chaplin, you see him walking fast. What happens in a film studio to create an image also happens in real life in the relation to chronos time. If I slow down time, it will have the opposite effect. It will speed up. If you see how interesting, you go to point zero and you will come face to face the Creator. So the Creator created a prison for the fallen angels. And they realized they were trapped inside the third clock. And that would have a beginning, middle and end. The 7,000 years, where you would have 6,000 years and another 1,000 years of the millennial government, where the Messiah will reign. Then the fallen angels realized that they were trapped within a linear time. That's why they don't want to be in the third dimension. The dimensions are being unified through the red sky, and they don't want to be in the third dimension. So, your clock is third Earth, and is formed by Taurus, Aries, Pisces, and Aquarius. Today, you are in the transition between Pisces and Aquarius, which takes 21 years for this transition to happen. Then you go to this red line called Capricorn, which is the center of the greater Earth. Pay attention to what I'm going to teach you. When the Creator began, he said, "Let there be light." This was in Taurus. The era of Taurus is 2,304 years long. Adam fell in 625 of the era of Taurus. So you have to take 2,304, which is the complete era of Taurus, minus 625, which was when Adam fell. So the era of Taurus lasted 1,679. So it was in the year 625 of the era of Taurus that the sun was brought, so much that you can see these images in the pyramid of Egypt. You can see this representation of this image in the Taurus era, and you will see the verse when the Creator said, "Let there be light." That's why the sun was brought in the year 625, which was the year of the fall of Adam. If you notice, you also have the moon in the shape of U, represented along with the sun, because it is the moon in the shape of U that will take the sun away. And you are seeing the moon in the shape of U. They show everything symbolizing the horn of Taurus. When you study the celestial halls, the hall of the bull is the largest, and then come the 30 small ones, which are Orion, the river of Oridanus Aurica, which represents the Creator, which is the history of Genesis and Apocalypse. Therefore, this war began before the first verse of Genesis. There were heavens and earth, and the most beautiful thing is to be able to understand the firmament. And then no one can deceive you, cause everything is written in the firmament, where man cannot manipulate. So what I want to show you with this is that the Taurus era was 1679 years long. So get a calculator so you can locate yourself in time. So here we go. Taurus era will last 1679 years. When Adam fell, it was 625 of the Taurus era, when the Creator said, "Let there be light." If you calculate the era of Taurus, i.e., that was 2304, it was the era in which Moses lived and brought the law, the 10 Commandments. Then you have the era of Pisces. It was the era of the Messiah come. He came to the end the repetition, to bring revelation to all humanity. Through his blood and sacrifice on the cross of Calvary, the Pisces era lasted 1070 years. So let's put together a puzzle. The era of Taurus, 1679 years. The era of Moses, 2304 years. The era of the Messiah, 2017 years, which has ended on the September 23, 2017, which was shown the sign of Revelation 12. So the 60,000 years of the scripture are in the sign of Revelation 12. When John said about the sign in the heaven, he is putting inside the time. But if you do not understand the biblical astronomy, you will not understand or know the time you are in. And that is why biblical astronomy was removed from the church. This channel is about astronomy biblical, based on the teaching of the prophet Daniel. Then, when you add 1679 plus 2304 plus 2017 equal 6,000 years, and the fallen angels knew they were trapped in linear time. And after that date in the year 2017, which is a period of 21 years, which is the transition for Pisces to Aquarius, the millennial government would end. So that's when they tried to do the repetition, and they did the repetition, and I will show you how they did it in the firmament. The fallen angels, to make the repetition, they had to find it in the scriptures. If it did not exist in the scriptures, they would not be able to make the spiritual law act in the material world. So they would have to find the repetition in the spiritual world to make it in the material world, and they found this in the year of Jubilee. In the book of Leviticus, chapter 25:8, "And thou shalt number 7 Shabbats of the years into thee, 7 times 7 years, and the space of the 7 Shabbats of the year shall be unto thee 49 years. In the same way that they did the repetition, and it being a slavery for those who are also trapped with them in time. In verse 10, there is also the spiritual law of liberation. And ye shall hallow the 5th years, and proclaim liberty through all the land unto all the inhabitants thereof. It shall be a jubilee unto you, and ye shall return every man unto his possession, and ye shall return every man unto his family. That's why there will be a rapture for you to return home after this repetition. So they found a biblical basis to this repetition. So let's reason if the Ouroboros exist and why there is repetition. And what is repetition? Is a version that exists in the matrix. And they made 7 repetitions of that version. That's why it is represented by the number 8. Cause number 8, because it will be a version repeated 7 times, which is symbolized by the infinite symbol. So the Ouroboros is the Hydra, dragon constellation, that is in the heaven, and whoever does this repetition together with him is the ancient serpent, which becomes this image. What is this image? You have the dragon constellation that is in the northern hemisphere, which represents the devil, who is trapped in the central sun. And you have the Hydra in the southern hemisphere. Here you have the angels who work for the devil, who are in the dragon constellation. You will be able to understand the sign of Revelation 12, because John mentions there in the Revelation 12, and that there are 2 signs, and the Revelation 15 has the 3rd sign. So today you will have an understanding of what the sign of Revelation 15, who it is. The firmament is the most beautiful thing. Today you will put the puzzle together, because I will teach you something that happened in the firmament. Before continuing with this story, I have to go the scripture for you to understand this sign. Let's go. This is the first sign that occurred on September 23, 2017. This sign is the showing a birth of land. This represents the birth of a nation. Apocalypse 12, 1 and 2 verses. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. So this sign here represents the last week of the age of grace, the last 7 years of the church. When you have look, the fellow angels saw that this sign was getting close, and they, after this date of September 23, 2017, they would no longer be able to repeat it in the firmament. So what they did, if you take the Jupiter here on September 9, 2017, he was almost leaving the womb of the Virgin. What they did, they sent a messenger angel from the constellation Dragon, because comets are messenger angels. So comet 21P, it left the constellation Dragon and stayed in front of this star Jupiter, which is also a wandering star, and did not let Jupiter leave. It stayed parked right in front of Jupiter, and then the sign was not made. Then everything started again. That's it. It repeated the same thing. In the old maps you can see that this comet 21P is forever in front of Jupiter and doesn't let it leave. Look at the date of September 23, 2017 in Stellarium. You will see comet 21P parked at the foot of the Virgin. So you know comets don't stay still. And it stayed still for 9 months in the same place until this last version of the repetition, because it knows it would be broken. In the last 7th repetition, he would no longer be able to repeat it, because he was holding Jupiter before September 9th.